Welcome to Eritrea. Nestled in East Africa, the proud nation of Eritrea is probably the world's most brutal dictatorship that you've never heard of, often referred to as Africa's North Korea. President Isaias Afwerki has ruled with an iron fist, turning a land of resilient warriors into a fortress of fear, where elections are myths, dissent vanishes into labour camps, and freedom is severely limited. In this video, we're going inside this impoverished and desperate dictatorship, and we'll do this by taking a look at their television and how the state uses it as a tool to control the nation. We'll take a look at their unique game shows, their news, which, spoiler alert, is pretty much non-stop propaganda, and also what passes for a sitcom in Eritrea. This is the untold saga of a nation's stolen voice. This is television in one of Africa's most brutal dictatorships. So first, a little bit of history about Eritrea while these guys dance around guns. Completely normal behaviour, lads. After being under Italian and British colonial rule, Eritrea then battled against Ethiopia to achieve full independence. The Eritrean People's Liberation Front, led by its current president Afwerki, defeated Ethiopian troops and gained full independence in 1993. Now, despite promises of democracy, in a tale as old as time, Afwerki quickly set about transforming Eritrea into a dictatorship. Eritrea has been ruled by Afwerki, who is now nearly 80, for 30 years, and he is governed without elections, a functioning constitution, or opposition parties, effectively turning the country into a one-party totalitarian state. Dissenting voices and anyone who dares to challenge are arrested and sent to prison, where they often die without trial. Eritrea is often called Africa's North Korea due to its isolation. Eritrea also ranks amongst the world's poorest nations, with widespread poverty exasperated by wars, drought and government policies. Growth is stifled by international sanctions, isolation and its indefinite national service that basically enslaves half the population. Food shortages are common, and it's estimated that 65% of the country are living in poverty, without access to basic goods, food, water or sanitation. Eritrea's human rights record is among the worst in the world, with systemic violations amounting to potential crimes against humanity. It won't surprise you to then hear that Eritrea's media is entirely state-controlled, fundamentally creating a news desert where independent journalism is non-existent. Since 2001, all private media outlets are banned, and all foreign media is prohibited. The state-run Eri TV is the only channel available, and its role is pretty much to propagate government narratives, glorify the regime, and suppress dissent. So, if you're ready, let's dive in. Okay, so it won't surprise you to hear that a large amount of Eri TV's output is focused on celebrating the military and Eritrean culture, and as such, televised military parades, national marches and speeches from the president are on TV a lot, particularly at the time of celebrating Eritrea Independence Day, which they are doing here. Eritrea has compulsory national service that every citizen has to join. The twist about Eritrea's national service is that it is indefinite, and basically involves the state telling you exactly what you're going to do. So, you may end up joining the army, you may be sent to work on a farm, or you might be told that you are now a cleaner for the president. The key thing is, this is your role, and you will do it for as long as the state tells you to. There is no escape, there is no alternative. It is basically an enslaved nation. Now, it's not just military though, because Eri TV is keen to promote all forms of Eritrean culture as seen in this parade, and I am completely obsessed with some of these floats. Take a look. Eritreans are massively proud of their culture, and rightly so. This is a nation that has fought to free itself from colonial and outside rule over and over again. Sawa, which is officially known as the Sawa Defence Training Centre, is the major military academy and training camp located in the remote Gashbarka region of Eritrea. This serves as the primary facility for recruiting and training members of the Eritrean Defence Forces, and is central to Eritrea's compulsory national service programme. If you're wondering why soldiers are singing, it's again because everybody is conscripted, so even Eritrea's biggest music stars will also be in the army. Music and dancing is hugely important to Eritrean culture, and you'll see lots and lots of music videos, songs and performing on Eri TV. And here's the big man himself, President Afwerki, who admittedly is in great shape for an 80-year-old. And here he is being applauded by his adoring people. The funny thing about TV and dictatorships is how it's all so similar. It was the same when we travelled to North Korea and Turkmenistan. It's national celebrations, military parades, and the obligatory shots of people loving their leaders. But remember, this friendly, smiling man is not what he seems. His people are persecuted, and those who object to him, those who dare not to clap, are imprisoned or killed. Perhaps in contrast to the realities of everyday life, Eritrean music is actually relentlessly upbeat and happy. It's quite enjoyable to watch Eritrean music and dancing, and if you search for some on YouTube, you will probably end up liking it. However, we're now going to move on to take a look at news in Eritrea. He is rocking that white suit, isn't he? I wish I could pull off a jacket like that. Now, Eri TV broadcasts news twice a day, at midday and in the evening. Due to the multiple languages spoken in Eritrea, the news actually broadcasts 4 versions each day. One in Tigrinya, one in Arabic, one in Tigray, and one, helpfully for us, in English. So let's tune in to an English version of the news to see what kind of stories they cover.
Hello dear viewers, welcome to Eri TV English News Broadcast. I'm Bersabet Tagle, and these are the major headlines for today. Messages of congratulations to the people and government of Eritrea.
So the main news in Eritrea is how many people are congratulating the wonderful president.
On your local reports, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of the Republic of Egypt, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-Ocha of Thailand, President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa of Portugal, as well as King Salman bin Abdulaziz and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia sent messages of congratulations to the people and government of Eritrea in connection with the 32nd Independence Day anniversary. In their messages, the leaders wished good health to President Isaias Afwerki and peace and prosperity to the Eritrean people. The leaders also expressed their country's readiness to develop friendly relations and mutual cooperation with Eritrea. Training on nutrition and food system was organized to.
So I watched a number of the news broadcasts in Eritrea, and you can, lots of them are up on YouTube, and you will see that pretty much every single news broadcast starts with how wonderful the president is or something great about the culture in Eritrea. There are no reports about the human rights abuses in Eritrea, no reports about poverty, no reports about food shortages. Watching the news, everything is great in Eritrea.
This is your English news here on Eri TV from your news broadcast, Zahar Badouri. We'll begin with your major headlines for this broadcast.
Nailed it. Now, honestly, you can play this game yourself. Eri TV actually has their own YouTube channel where they upload pretty much every TV show they broadcast. Do go and watch some of it because it is fascinating to see. And as you can see from this news, again, it's all just about positive stuff the country is doing at the moment. So, that's enough about the so-called news in Eritrea. Let's move on to see their entertainment offerings.
That culture and tradition are vital in preserving one's.
The first show we're going to look at is this Eritrean game show. This is Melsi Ab Mesmer, which roughly translates to answer on the phone line. I should probably say at this point, as you'll be able to tell, that the budget on Eritrean TV is very low, which is not surprising considering the level of poverty in the country. This game show, which is broadcast live every Saturday, involves the host selecting players randomly and calling them up live to ask them a series of questions. Okay, so as you can tell, each episode of this game show is, well, a struggle. Mostly because half the time the phone line doesn't really work, you can't really hear the player properly, and even if you could, it's not massively entertaining.
Alright, that's it.
I was pretty much losing the will to live by now, so let's skip to the end of the show. As far as I can make out, there aren't any cash prizes or anything like that on the show, so the players are just playing for fun. One thing I like is that at the end of the show, the host pushes a button on his laptop to make himself disappear. Tune in next week, guys, there's more of that. Let's look at another game show in Eritrea.
Hello.
I like these opening titles. So this game show is Boya, which translates as history or legacy. And in this show, contestants have to answer questions about Eritrean history and its legacy.
سلام كبرات تخاتلتي مرة ودر تاريخه وفلتات بويا كمي كنيهم دلهم كالي تورداري سنيت أبراهام أحد عشران سلستن سلاسان سلستن
So these are this week's contestants on Boya, and they're going to battle it out between them to see who knows the most about Eritrea.
كعبدحان مصاكي قدامي تحطوي كنجمرينا ما بقول حزب ኤርትራ ተባሂሎም ዝእመነሎም ጉጅለታት ክንደዮም
كمون سمعان
ሙሉ መልሲ
So you get the idea about the format. Contestants battle it out each week and there is an ultimate winner at the end of the series. This show is much higher budget than Answer on the Line, despite being filmed in what looks like a warehouse, and even has a live studio audience. The show is of course quite clever because while on the surface it may look like a fun game show, the whole thing is actually about fostering and rewarding national pride. The more you know about Eritrea and your president, the more you will be rewarded. As part of this series, I've watched a lot of TV from all different countries, and I have to say at this point I was really struggling with Eritrean TV because it's, well, pretty dull to watch. Of course, Eritrea is one of the poorest countries in the world, and so nobody would expect high-production TV shows. But nevertheless, in this series we have visited countries where there is lots of poverty, where they are still creative with their television. And if I'd been struggling so far, well, I hadn't seen anything yet. This next show is called The Weekly Issue. And yes, it is a show where they go through the week's newspapers, headline by headline, page by page. Of course, the newspapers are state-run, and so this isn't really a news review show like you might get in a Western democracy. It's just literally reading out the headlines that the governments have put out in that week's press. I can't really believe that anyone in Eritrea actually watches this stuff, and in fact, that's right. Only 30% of Eritreans actually have access to a TV set. Most Eritreans live in poverty and lack the basic infrastructure for electricity, let alone a television. Even in the main urban areas where the upper classes live, TV is pretty sparse, with many likely deciding that with only one TV channel broadcasting content like this, well, there really is very little point. So, in a desperate bid to find anything entertaining on Eritrean TV, I took a look at their kids' programming. This is Eritrean's main, or as far as I could see, only kids TV show. It's called Hello Kulo, which translates to Hello Kids, and is presented by this terrifying man.
ብጣዕሚና ዓበይትና ንኣሽቱና ተሓጉስና እቲ ዘገርም ከዓ ኣብ መድረኽ ብዙሓት ቆልዑት ግጥሙ ክንገጥም
The show is pretty standard kids TV fare and includes things like puppets and singing.
زانتا كواخون بعل بيت مقبن هذا كواخ.
Another part of the show seems to involve young kids going on and guessing pictures of animals or something in a TV studio.
الكاب حنقول كأ ريح أب قطر حدا أتقال له حري حز أتقال أب قطر حدا أب قطر خلت رأيه تبعتها دوره زطعم أب قطر ثلاثة أسنان صوري أسنان حري صوري أسنان ثلاثة
It's not just me, is it? This show is actually a bit creepy, and I'm kind of relieved that practically 80% of Eritrean kids will have never even seen or heard of it.
درف كله يلها.
So now to the final part of this video, where we're going to look at Eritrean sitcoms and dramas. So, in Netflix style, Eritrea is also into the true crime genre, and this true crime drama is called Meslet Reem, which translates as A Child Vanishes, and it tells the true story of a kidnap of a child. The show features dramatic reconstructions alongside interviews with the family affected, and don't worry, the child was returned home and everything ended well. The production values on this are actually pretty good, and it is a well-made true crime drama. Anyway, the guys find the kid, return them home, and it is a happy ending. So let's take a look at another drama now.
Salam.
This drama is called Zerubbabel, which is a Christian name in Eritrea, and it's a 60-part drama. Yes, 60 parts. Eritrea seems to go more down the telenovela route with epic stories that spawn hundreds of 30-minute episodes. Now, the acting and costumes are a bit dodgy, but I guess it's fairly entertaining to watch. Tune in next week for part 452. And finally, we're going to end this video by looking at Eritrean comedy. So this sitcom is called Edna Zeman, which again is an Eritrean name, and it's a long-running comedy. This is fascinating stuff. We are watching a woman put chairs out. Honestly, feel free to crack on with the comedy at any point. So, as far as I can work out, the woman serving the food is Edna, and the comedy is all about this cafe they run and the many hilarious exploits her and her crazy family get up to. I'm not kidding though, like 15 minutes of this 30-minute episode is them just tidying up the cafe and serving food. Honestly, I'm going slightly delirious now, but finally, I think we're going to have some comedy.
سمع زاوال حراي بلنا ونسخ كنا زي طبق يركس زي فلت كيف كلها زربوا الكعب لك كله حنق ليبو عمنا حنق دو فيزار انقع انتي ملايا حراي انقع حواي كونكو لازم ودي من متى تركوا شوف هلا اخو من قبل اخو غيره ها اوف واي تعيش بقى قاعد تستارر مو انا شمكلنا خي تمصل وا هيتنبح.
Now, I don't speak Tigrinya, but somehow I feel like this comedy scene was not worth the wait. But either way, it's nice to end this video on a funny note. So, what can we learn from this video? Well, the interesting thing is, if you've watched this video, you've already seen more Eritrean TV than the average person in Eritrea. And that's because hardly anyone in Eritrea has access to this stuff. Less than 50% of the country have electricity, and of those who do, mostly in urban areas, less than 30% have a television. In fact, many in Eritrea live in rural areas, living in traditional, locally constructed dwellings made of mud, wood and grass. And so, it got me thinking, what is the point of this stuff? Why are they spending money on television when basically no one watches it and so many live in poverty? And then I think I found my answer when I stumbled on the YouTube channel of Eri TV. Because they upload every single program they produce on there, free for the whole world to enjoy. Because in some ways, its TV isn't really made for the people in Eritrea. It's made for us, you and I, the rest of the globe. It's made to showcase Eritrea, to portray it as a prosperous and happy country, as creative, and, above all else, as a nation that loves its president. And you could be forgiven in thinking that. Did you see any hunger in this video? Any human rights abuses? Any poverty? No. And you might start thinking, well, maybe it's not all that bad in Eritrea. And, well, that is exactly the point of Eri TV.